All right, we are going live. Let's go. Are we live yet? We are live. I'm still drinking my little weird concoction here. Just did a bunch of videos, and my throat, I'm a little dry in my throat. So first, we've got to get into the classic. Who won the actual swole shirt, which I got to get right here. We got the swole shirt. The swole shirt. Ooh, we got a lot of people in here too. Oh, Ernesto, live from Argentina.
I just realized I should put the wrong last week's winners up on the graphic. So the ones that are on the notes are the
Wrong.
graphics are there. I just chose the wrong ones. So I probably didn't realize that now.
So the graphics are wrong, or the
The graphics are wrong.
oh, so I should get the graphics off the screen
Yeah.
and then just say
Yeah, my bad. I chose the wrong ones.
just say who they are.
Yeah. That's pulled up on your live stream. Right? So pull up initially.
Sorry guys, we are in the process. We qualified for nationals yesterday. Solidarity. I threw the hockey assist to clinch for the game. Nice work. All right. So the t-shirt winner giveaway from the shoulder video is going to be Logan Abinator 29.95. Logan Abinator 29.95. Logan, if you comment, let me know. Okay, so you won this week's swole shirt giveaway. You got to tell me if you're related to Dominic Abinator. One of my wrestlers used to go head to head with Abinator from Michigan, and he actually won his like All-American match 2016 against Abinator, clinched that to get into the All-American round, and then the next year lost to Abinator. So Logan Abinator 29.95 wins the swole shirt. Okay. Also, we have given away this shirt, ironically, this sweet lift shirt. Both of these are available at GarageStrength.com. And then on the deadlift video, the Don Palumbo. The Don Palumbo, you won the other swole shirt giveaway. You can claim your prize. Both of you guys, all you have to do to claim your prize is to email us at GarageStrength.com that you won the giveaway and provide a screenshot of your studio. Provide a screenshot of your YouTube studio that it is indeed your studio. And then we can verify that you're the winner, and we can move forward and ship you that sweet swole shirt. A couple people now have gotten their swole shirts. They posted up on Instagram, and they've let us know what their comments are. So, all right, we're going to get into some of these questions. Again, I got these. I got this cool, like, hot chocolate concoction, but it's not hot chocolate. It's like a chocolate drink. It's really high in fiber, and I like to drink it right in the afternoon when I'm starting to get a little fatigued. So, all right, before we get into those questions, hasn't been said. Oh gosh, we got an email copywriter in here. Uh-oh. It's crazy how much that happens. Okay, so when we get into these questions now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 comments off of the videos, okay? 3 comments off the videos. Brandon Bocha, 7542. Brandon Bocha. Let's see. Where is this hamstring comment? Hamstring comment. Let's see in here. Hamstring. What's up, Dane? I read your Garage Strength program design book, and I completed the course. While looking through the programming for weightlifting, you referenced start and stop work and complex stop series in certain training phases. I was wondering what this refers to and if you have any videos that touch on this aspect. And so trying to find the actual specific. There we go. Okay, so there's that. But the question here was based off of this question. Okay, and so what we're seeing is that Brandon Bocha was asking, okay, we talk about start and stop exercises. So what that would mean is you take a power snatch and you go boom, and you squeeze and you control that power snatch. You take a power clean and you catch it fast and you hold it in that catch position. Or you're doing a dip on a jerk and you go 1, pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you might get an auditory command, go, and then you drive up. And then you have to hold in the split. So what I think is lacking in regards to sports performance training is using start and stops, not only to ingrain better technique on the lifts, but also to ingrain just greater auditory link. So you can take an auditory link to actually executing that neural control. Okay, so you do a start, stop, you do a power clean, stop in the power clean. You do a dip, pause in the dip. You do a jerk, pause in a split. You do a pause even in the hole of a snatch. And I'll use this example. Some of the throwers we've been doing 3 sets of 1, pause in the overhead position with a snatch catch, and then they'll do 4 singles ramping after that. And what happens is they get more mobile from those pauses. Their technique becomes more precise because they're holding that tighter position, and they think about the logic of getting into the bottom, holding that position, improving mobility. There's more neural control. They're more aware of what they're doing. They're a little bit more focused. And then when we're ramping, they feel stronger, and they've been hitting PRs like crazy. Okay. Taman is a good example. He's been snatching close to 140 for the last like 3 or 4 weeks. And so the reason why we use them is multifaceted. It's mobility, it's neural control, it's understanding technique. But to answer Brandon's question, what I wanted to do is provide, as far as, what I just put up on the screen here, that's going to be an example of a page, and this is the review copy. If you see that, that's so pathetic. That's up on the it's a review copy that we use to send to the publisher before it actually got published. But this is the weightlifting and sports performance book right here. Okay, so our Olympic weightlifting and sports performance book, and if you go to page 49, okay, go to page 49 on this specific book, and you're going to get this article right here. Okay, so page 49, we start to talk about clean with a pause and a hole, and that's just the start of it. There's more information in this where we get even deeper into the different complexes that we're using, the different movements that we're using, the different starts and stops that we use. And so to answer Brandon's comment there, it really comes down to what is the adaptation that we're looking for. Is it mobility focused? Is it technique focused? Are we trying to focus on just priming the nervous system and letting the athlete get a little bit more aware of what's going on? Okay, so I hope that answers that question specifically. Then we're going to get into that next big question is going to be related to Agenia Tarasidou 9261. Agenia Tarasidou 9261. I feel like this individual is Greek. Maybe I'm wrong, but Agenia Tarasidou 9261. Great video. What can we do for a female volleyball athlete? And so what I wanted to do was provide a couple different things here. Let's see, this is I wanted to look at the effects of plyometric jump training on physical fitness in amateur and professional volleyball players, okay, or amateur and professional athletes. And so essentially what they did here is they aim to examine if they do plyometric-based training, okay? So if we have somebody who's training for volleyball or even training specifically for basketball or anything that involves jumping, right? Baseball, football, all of these sports involve jumping, right? So if we can understand what's the actual effects of plyometric-based training, and if we can look at it, they took 18 moderate to high-quality studies were eligible, okay? And so they comprise a total of 746 athletes. So that's a very large sample size, 746 athletes. None of the included studies reported injuries related to the plyometric jump training intervention. So none of them had injuries. I'm not saying you can't get injured from plyometrics. I'm saying that out of the studies used, the 18 studies that impacted 746 athletes, none of them reported injuries. Okay, so just keep that in mind because I think that's one big factor on why people don't want to do plyometric-based training. The main findings showed small to moderate effects on linear sprint speed. So small to moderate, which can be a lot if we're talking about an elite level athlete, of plyometric jump training on linear sprint speed. They showed that small to moderate impact on squat jump and counter movement jump with the arm swing, the drop jump, and spike jump height. Spike jump height would be very specific to volleyball, obviously. Sub-analysis of moderator factors included 48 data tests. Only age had a significant effect on counter movement jump performance. Participants aged over the age of 16 years achieved greater improvements in counter movement performance compared to under 16 years of age. So in conclusion, based off of this study that's on the screen right here, in conclusion, based off of this research, what the literature is telling us is that, in conclusion, plyometric jump training seems safe and effective. It's a good way to improve physical fitness. It's a good way to improve physical condition. And all the research on the 746 individuals were male and female. They were, they researched male athletes, they researched female volleyball players, and then that can show you what you want to be doing. So the very minimum, what you should be doing with plyometric or with volleyball players in response to Eugenia Tresidou 9261 is just start doing jump-based training. Okay, once you start doing jump-based training, now you're going to start to improve your overall performance. And when you improve your overall performance, you're going to be a better volleyball player. And we actually even talk about this. So I use inside of the Weightlifting and Sports Performance book, we even talk about I spent time with Al Vermeil. I've spent time only once with Al Vermeil, but I've also been around Mike Gattone, who was the Chicago Bulls strength coach for during those championship runs in the mid to late 90s. He worked with Scottie Pippen. He worked with B.J. Armstrong. He worked with Dennis Rodman. He worked with Horace Grant. And looking at what those guys were doing, and he would talk about how, and there's footage of this online, them doing power snatches from the boxes, box squats, front squats, all of those different things. I would also recommend, if you have a volleyball player, athletes that are taller, basketball players as well, you can do those movements and you can do plyometric-based training and it'll be healthy. Now, this next question, so I hope that helped with that one, is going to be related to quad strength. Okay, so quad strength. How can I still increase my quad strength when dealing with knee issues? Okay, so how can I increase my quad strength when dealing with knee issues? And this brings up effects of in-season inertial resistance training with eccentric overload in sports populations at risk for patellar tendinopathy. Okay, so I think one of the big factors here is just recognizing that what is the major, one of the major issues around knee pain is actually related to the quad, either weak or super tight. And so as strength coaches, we've got to try and deduce or use a physio or use a mobility doctor in our case and try and figure out what is it that might be at play here, okay, and what's causing it. And even with this research in particular, most of this research is going to come down to they were actually researching basketball players and volleyball players because they are doing so much jumping and there's such a heavy eccentric load when they're landing. And so they've got to be aware of, all right, what can we do with athletes that are at risk of the patellar tendinopathy? So when they're at risk of patellar tendinopathy, typically that's going to come back to some type of chronic overuse, landing, lots and lots of landing. And if they're either extraordinarily weak or they're lacking dorsiflexion in their ankle, that's going to make that problem exacerbated, right? So let's go over this research paper right here real quickly, and it just goes right into it, okay? Although IG and CG, okay, so I want to try and explain what these are here. Okay, the intervention group and the control group. Although the intervention group and the control group maintain scheduled in-season training routines over 24 weeks, the intervention group, in addition, performed one weekly session of eccentric overload by 4 sets of 8 reps of the squat using the flywheel. Okay, so they're using the eccentric version of the flywheel. That's where the inertial resistance training is coming into play. So they're studying what does the flywheel, what does the eccentric work, what does that do for patellar tendinopathy. And so we go through this, and it says 4 sets of 8 as one extra training session. They measured, and this is the Victorian Institute of Sports. All right, so they measured vertical counter movement jump, squat power, both concentric and eccentric squat tests were performed during and after the 24 weeks of intervention. Neither group suffered from patellar tendinopathy during the study period. They displayed no differences across groups at any measurement point. Counter movement scores significantly differed between groups in favor of the intervention group. Both squat concentric and squat eccentric mean scores from the intervention group were significantly higher than the control group. So there's an argument here. Is it related to the eccentric work? Is it related to the inertial base work on the flywheel? Or 3, is this related simply because they're doing one extra workout a week? They're adding in one extra workout a week. So when they added a weekly eccentric overload squat training bout to a regular basketball and volleyball exercise routine, it enhances lower limb muscle power without triggering any patellar issues. Okay, so this was over a 24-week time frame. So there was 38 women, 43 men that were in each group. And so I just wanted to share that because I thought that would be a real easy answer along with what was asked earlier. And then you could even go into comparing the effectiveness of blood flow restriction. So I'll share along with that question there. If you look at this research paper here, okay, so this research paper basically compares if you have somebody who's hurt and they're coming off an ACL surgery. So you got somebody who's injured, they just had an ACL surgery. What can we do that might not be heavy load or heavy resistance based training? And that's where something like BFR comes into play. And this study shows successfully that BFR equaled or slightly outperformed heavy load resistance training. The heavy load was 70% max training. The BFR training was 30% of the 1 rep max. And so that's another way that we could deal with those knee issues. And then finally, that was the one I just shared with you actually, was the inertial one. So I wanted to go over this. And then there's another paper here where it's also, you can look at slow eccentrics, you can look at isometrics, you can look at slow eccentrics into a rapid concentric, and just try to figure out as a strength coach, if you've got somebody with knee issues, if you've got somebody or athletes that are more prone, so somebody who's really tall, somebody who has stiff ankles, somebody who's in a really jump specific sport where they take on a lot of force, you can use these types of movements and then look at it and say, oh, well, I'm a little nervous about using plyometrics. Well, if we use plyometrics, based off the data, we're seeing that they're going to be okay. And then if we're using plyometrics along with some type of resistance-based training, they're probably going to be okay. And I wanted to share that. And then going back to that, again, a lot of the stuff that we might even do would be using different types of weightlifting variations. And a lot of people will say, well, cleans and snatches or jerks, they're just not effective or they're too hard. This book specifically, we wrote this in 2019. Sam Mattis here he's on the cover. And I love the fact that he's on the cover because we put him on the cover and he wasn't an Olympian yet. And now he's an Olympian. Now he's one of the best discus throwers in the world. And inside of it, we use all of our models, athletes that have medaled at Worlds, athletes that have been to the World Championships, athletes that have done some really phenomenal stuff. So there's a lot of variations in there inside of that book that show you that you can use for somebody who is taller or that might be more prone to those injuries. All right, I'm going to finish this drink, and then we're going to get into those comments. The questions. Man, look at that. I got to clean up that back, huh? I got my YouTube stuff here. I've got all of this is my Tokyo stuff. Just absolute mayhem, right? Okay, so I got to move this a little closer. Uh-oh. Maybe I'm going to switch this, Jason. I hope that's okay. I want to pull this over here so I can see it a little bit better. And then I'll move this one over here. Jason showed me one time how to pull the chat out so it's a little easier to see, and I don't remember how to do it. All right. Passion arm wrestling. After 3 months of training my lats, I finally found out that single-handed seated rows are the best exercise for me. I really feel the lats with that passion. That makes a lot of sense. I think one-arm lat pull-downs are also a phenomenal way to train your lats. And if you struggle to feel your lats, please make Insane Strength video. What would you want, Sport Mania? What would you want from Insane Strength video? I like that idea. I like the title. But tell me what you want from that Insane Strength video. So going back to the lats is if we're doing... if you're doing a one-arm pull-up or a one-arm lat pull or seated row, that that can really target the actual lats a bit more, and you're going to feel that even more when you're doing a pull-up as well, so you can use that as pre-fatigue. Yeah, I think that's great. Hollis Lansford, this video keeps lagging for me. Not sure if it's just me or others too. Oh, no. I didn't know that this was lagging. Let me know. I hope that connection's a little bit better. Oh, that stinks. That drives me nuts when that happens. How do you train around gamer's thumb for Oli lifting and deadlifts? Training around gamer's thumb for Oli lifting and deadlifts. Well, first of all, I would use straps. Second of all, I would use a hook grip. And third of all, I would deal with it. This hat is available at garagestrength.com, and this is in memorial, sort of paying attribute to Anthony Myers. So if you guys want to pick that up, go ahead. But we would love it. Ruptured both patellar tendons in consecutive years, right knee, then left knee following year. Fully recovered and continued to do explosive training. That's good, Travis. Why did that happen, though? Was that a genetic thing or what? Passion arm wrestling has torn his right patellar tendon while dancing, but his leg didn't. Fried Rice Boy, would you do upper body plyos like clap push-ups on athlete day? For sure. I would also use them to prime. I also like using clap push-ups or explosive push-ups to prime the nervous system before getting into a big upper body lift. I think they're a great way to really wake up before we're getting into that upper body lift. I'm a soccer player, and what is one movement that you would recommend to transfer over to speed? Man, I can see that lagging now. I see that lagging, and that's sort of pissing me off. As far as soccer, I think that would be easy. I think the one strength exercise would be a single leg squat. It's so similar to what you're doing out on the field. You know, you've got to be able to sprint in a unilateral position, and you've got to be able to coordinate with your foot-eye coordination. So a single leg squat, and then I would probably use something like single leg bounds or single leg stair jumps with that. So Faded is asking if we can make a soccer video. So to answer Faded, we have a really, really great soccer video that is about a month old. A lot of people like it. A lot of people have seen quite a bit of success from that soccer video. So let me know if you could check that out. I think it'd be phenomenal. You can comment on that and let us know if you enjoy it. Can you reduce the risk of overuse injuries by only doing a specific movement once a week and using alternative movements during a second or third workout in a week? So CR is basically saying, if we did like a bench press, then if we did for the rest of the week a bench press like an incline. Okay, so here he's going, you do a back squat on day 1, a front squat on day 2, a single leg squat on day 3. I would say that would be fine. I would also just argue that the chronic use is coming to the action of the joints, not the specific movement pattern. So some people will actually see better results doing the same movement over and over again. Yeah, I think that's fine, though. I think how you laid that out is also perfectly fine. That's basically what we're doing inside of Peak Strength. Peak Strength day 1 would be a leg power day, and then day 4 would be that impulse day, and then we're going to have some type of warm-up on athlete day. Is it safe to try and add 50 pounds to your squat in 2 months? I think it's possible. It depends on your age. Can you make another strength training program for hockey trying to increase explosive and power endurance? So this is for Owen. So Owen, what I would do is I'd go into Peak Strength, okay, and I would pull up Peak Strength here, and you can actually get through the programs inside. I'm looking at this. So inside of Peak Strength here, okay, you can get into this screen and you can select ice hockey, Owen. And that's going to help you train that lateral strength and explosiveness for hockey. And I'm showing you mine mainly because my current setting is to marathon. And I think I'm probably the only person inside of Peak Strength that's training for a marathon and has a bench press over 400 pounds. So yeah, I would say you could get in and get that done, and you would get a brand new program specific to ice hockey, which is going to help you. And I just realized that while I'm in here, it's funny because I'm in here and I just realized that I did not finish my workout I didn't hit the buttons here. So I'm doing that right now just because I want to make sure that that's done. Okay. I love the fact that I just got that done. All right. Next question. Trying to get faster and bigger. One of my favorite questions. This is for Oakley Baxter. I'm an incoming freshman trying to get faster and bigger. You're a running back. You run an 11.9. How should I train during my leg day to get faster while getting bigger? So you should do sprint stuff in the morning. I recommend hitting sprint work in the mornings. And then you do some speed stuff in the morning. Maybe do an upper body day on day 1. And then day 2, you could do your leg day. That would be the day after you do your sprint work. Then day 3, you do some plyometric work, and that plyometric work is going to have a positive transfer, as we found out from the plyometric jump training, has a small to moderate improvement on your linear sprint speed, along with the single leg squats and back squats, stuff like that. And then you would take day 4 off, and then you come back with day 5 and do more sprint stuff in the morning. So you're going to get bigger and you're going to get faster. Is squat a good exercise, even if I have pain during the squat because I have a hip impingement? What exercise could I do instead? So this is for Pascal. I would start with single leg squats in the front squat position. Usually that will alleviate any type of hip impingement. The front loaded position usually makes you a little bit more aware in your core and your trunk. And when you're more aware in your trunk, that's going to help recruit a little bit better, which can alleviate that impingement. But I would start with that front squat single leg front squat. That's what I would recommend. Ingo Arthur, how to choose the clean I should be using? Okay, so that would depend, Ingo, on your goals, and that would depend on how long you've been training. That would depend on what type of mobility issues you have and things along those lines. How many grams of protein per gram of body weight for a cut? So we got an athlete in here who wants to cut weight. Looks like they just deleted that. Okay. How can I determine my weekly volume for power and beginners, intermediate, and advanced athletes? Okay, so weekly volume for power and beginners, intermediate, and advanced athletes. First, I would look at and say, where are they? How are you determining that they're advanced? Is it based off of testing? Is it based off of years? And then if it's based off of testing and years, you can increase the amount of volume. So let's say there's a total volume for advanced athletes for power-based movements is 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 sets per week plus plyometrics. For intermediates, that might look like 7 to 10. And then for beginners, that might be as easy as 4 to 8. We know that based off of recent research of the minimal effectiveness of volume. The minimal effectiveness of volume is typically going to be around 3 to 6 sets. 3 to 6 sets of training around the RPE 7.5 to 9.5 is going to be enough to get a good response. So that's how I would base that off of all those things. Dan, I just did my PR test. Do I adjust my 80% of 1 rep max from that test moving forward to future programs? Yes, that's what I would recommend for sure. Hey, coach, is it okay for middle schooler to do Olympic lifts? If yes, how much weight should I use? So 100%, I actually think the best time to start weightlifting exercises, we actually had a kid this morning at the gym, brings in his kid, literally this morning. It's 9 o'clock, first thing in the morning. We're open, okay? This is garage strength, baby. It's the summertime. Kids are getting out of school now, so they're all coming in. 9 a.m. Walks in, kid's in 4th grade. I start talking to dad. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Dad's jacked up, pretty fit. I want to get my kid in the gym here at Garage Strength. He wrestles, plays football, also plays baseball. If we can start it 2 to 3 days a week, I think he'll be good. And then by the time, if we can go 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and then by the time he's in 7th grade, we're hoping it's sort of ingrained with him. The habits are in him, and he just keeps trying to train. And so going back to this question of can I do weightlifting exercise in middle school, I would tell you should do them more so than not. And I'm using that example because this kid's likely, if they can be consistent with him and keep training for a long period of time, he's going to learn the technique for 4th grade and 5th grade. He's going to learn how to push through feeling uncomfortable, through having the bar on his back, through having, the burn in his legs, through just being in a stressful situation. And now you take that adaptation. Now you take that kid in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and he learns how to do that. He hits puberty, and all of a sudden he blows up. And the big factor is that mentally, he's learning how to push through that stress. He's learning technique at a high degree. He's also surrounded in a culture around other individuals who are super successful. And so I think it's absolutely fantastic. And in that case, If you could do that type of work when you were younger, start light and just slowly build up to it. How can I improve my repeated sprint ability? Improving your repeated sprint ability. So I would initially just say, well, let's try to shorten the rest for 2 to 3 weeks between your sprints. On an off day, let's do on-the-minute power cleans or on-the-minute cleans. On another day, we can do high-intensity interval-based training. And then in 4 to 5 weeks, your repeated sprint capability is going to drastically increase. How do you deal with wrist pain, more specifically during push-ups, flicking my wrist when shooting a basketball? Okay, so typically that's going to be here. One, if there's any issues here, ice will help in the wrist. 2, working on mobility through your forearms here will help quite a bit. Even just doing really ridiculous things like this, like stretching your wrist here, is going to pay off quite a bit. And then also doing stretches where your elbow is elevated. You can use like a power elastic and put the handle here, and you step on it while you're raising the elbow. That's going to help lengthen that. And then even doing wrist flexion exercises will help as well. But you've actually got to do that work. That's a tough one, but you've got to do the work. Fried Rice Boy, what does reflexive strength for throwing work? Just special strength exercises? Yes, but also technique and technical strength is how I would put it. If you're doing reflexive exercises like a half turn that's banded or a half turn while you're throwing, your body learns this innate movement. It learns this innate movement that executes it at high speeds, and then it becomes second nature. Your throwing drill that you're using now becomes like you're walking, okay? And I think that's the big factor around throwing, is that the sooner that we can get athletes to be comfortable with that high-speed technical execution, the better they're going to be as throwers, the more confident they're going to be, and then when they get in the ring, they're going to compete better. And I think that's like that for wrestling. I think it's like that for basketball. It's every sport that has that technical component, and that's where the reflexive work comes into play. One last question. I saw one of your videos, and you said a striker in soccer should train like a running back or a linebacker. Yeah. I would say probably a running back or a wide receiver. I think like a center mid to me would be more like a linebacker or a safety probably. Striker would probably be more like a high speed running back. I'm thinking more like Dalvin Cook's, like that type of speed. And then the wide receiver type training would be the striker as well. Because they've got to have good breakaway speed, but they've also got to have high capability to cut. Most goals are one very, very fast and severe cut that leads to a change of movement, or the change of center of mass rapidly changes, and then they score. So that's where that comes from. Possible video on explosiveness power for running backs. Yes, I didn't get to see if the insane strength video comment was brought back. What do you guys want to see with that? Explosiveness power for running back. I'm pretty sure we have a video on this, either on Garage Strength or on Peak Strength. I'm not positive, but if we don't, we'll get it done. And that one is for Ethan Coles, because I'm pretty sure we do have explosiveness or power for running backs. I'm a striker. The most important things are vision, always watching the ball, and being ready to get it and interfere between the defenders. Yeah, and I think that's something that the quiet eye is a real thing in sports. And the greater your dynamic trunk control is, the easier it is to quiet your eyes. So if I'm running full speed and I'm turning and I'm looking for a ball here, my vision sort of goes like this. I zero in, and it's the same reason why when someone's target shooting or doing archery or even throwing like an axe, or you're throwing darts, watch the best dart athletes, or even the guys playing cornhole, they sort of like close an eye and they sort of block things out. I actually tend to do this a little bit when I'm watching weightlifting. I'll like watch somebody lift and I try and like squint. So the reason why people squint, it's called training. You're training the quiet eye. You're trying to block things out. And what comes into play here, and this goes back to this discussion on vision, is that we can actually improve our vision by training our dynamic trunk control, which then as we're turning and we have thoracic rotation as we're tracking a ball, if we're more mobile and we're not falling all over the place. We can see where the ball is coming. If that means, we're playing cricket, that could be a frisbee, that could be a basketball, that could be a baseball, that could be a football. But that quiet eye can zero in on it based off of our dynamic trunk control, and then that leads to better performance. So, I wanted to share that because Passion Arm Wrestler has mentioned that he's a striker. The most important things are vision, always watching the ball and being ready to get it and interfere between defenders. Okay, how much can just weightlifting increase sprint and jump capability? So there was a study that I put up last week on soccer players. Soccer players increase their speed more by doing back squats than by doing resisted sled training and by doing sprints. Okay, that was in elite level soccer players. Their speed improved more from back squats. Now, there's not a ton of research on just comparing weightlifting to sprint speed, for specific sports. And I wanted to, I'll try to check myself right now. Weightlifting, sprint speed. Okay. But this is still, I like to think about, of course, comparison of weightlifting. Okay. Here we go. So if we look at comparison of weightlifting, traditional resistance training and plyometrics on strength, power, and speed. Okay, this is a systematic review that came out in 2022. Okay, so weightlifting training is commonly used to improve strength, power, and speed. Now, the only thing, so they are going to say weightlifting compared with traditional resistance-based training, plyometric training, and a control. Okay, so they took 16 studies comprising 427 participants. Data indicated that when compared with TRT, not testosterone, but actual traditional resistance-based training, weightlifting resulted in greater improvements in weightlifting load lifted and counter movement jump height. Okay, so counter movement jump height was improved from weightlifting. There was also a large effect in terms of linear sprint speed. There was 4 studies that they targeted where there was a large effect of terms in sprint speed and change of direction. So I'm actually going to take this and maybe we put this into next week's live because I think this is a big one that I have not put in here. And so what I try to do with these, we have a whole research document that's all based off of weightlifting and sprinting. So I'm going to share this with you guys next week. But if you want, you can get this by, I'm going to tell you the title again. Comparison of weightlifting, traditional resistance training, and plyometrics on strength power. Okay. So the next thing, so there's 16 studies, 427 participants. That's a pretty large group. It wasn't statistically significant with the change of direction, but it was actually, there was an improvement. Okay. Interpretations of these findings should acknowledge the high heterogeneity across the included studies and potential risk of bias. Weightlifting and plyo resulted in similar improvements in speed. Weightlifting and plyometrics resulted in similar improvements in speed, power, and strength as demonstrated by negligible to moderate effects in favor of weightlifting for improvements in linear speed. Okay. Squat, jump performance, and strength. Overall, these findings support the notion that if the training goal is to improve strength, power, and speed, supplementary weightlifting training can be advantageous for athletic development. Whilst, that's actually the word that they use, whilst, weightlifting and plyometrics may result in similar improvements. Weightlifting can elicit additional benefits above that of traditional resistance-based training. Okay, so what that tells me, is if we're going to focus on improving sprints, improving speed, increasing your squat, doing jumps, doing weightlifting movements is going to make you better. And you have to have a periodized program, and that's why you should be using Peak Strength. Head over to peakstrength.app. This live is brought to you by peakstrength.app, where we use weightlifting exercises, we use squats, we use plyometrics, we use impulse-based training so that you can apply a large amount of force in a short period of time. Everything comes back to force. That's the basis of strength, is how much force can you produce, especially in a short period of time. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Ninja Warrior needs full body power, but more upper body muscle compared to lower body for strength to weight ratio for holding lock-offs and grips. How would you recommend training with this in mind? Hollis. This is for Hollis Lamford. We've got a crazy video on BJJ training coming out in the next couple of weeks that I think you're going to love. I think you're going to be able to use it. It's going to show you a lot of the crazy locks and grip work that you can be doing. I like doing something like a rope climb and then an isometric hold, or doing pull-ups with isometric holds and doing ab work while you're holding those positions. So there's a lot of different things. I also would say very, very long duration forearm rollers, like set a timer for 15 minutes and you got to do 15 minutes of forearm roller. That's one of the best ways to train that. In the meantime, also doing high intensity interval training. What workouts and muscle groups do you recommend to get faster? So Oakley, this would go back to that study I had mentioned. We've got to focus on leg strength. We got to focus on your glutes, quads, hamstrings. And this leads us into Luis Eduardo. As a basketball player, how should my weight training split look like during the in-season 2 times a week and during the off-season 4 times a week? So 4 times a week during the off-season, I do a Lulu split, leg, upper. Maybe you put in on that second leg day, that's a athlete day or that's an impulse day. Okay, but that's what you could be doing. And then during this season, I would do a traditional leg and upper day on day 1. Day 2 would be like that athlete impulse day. And you can use peak strength and just select that you're only going to train twice a week, and that's going to help you figure that out. How often do we need to train explosiveness for a rugby player? This is from Azako. And also, Samuel, I'll answer your question. What exercises should you recommend for someone with poor squat mobility and a bit of back pain? I would do goblet squats or driver squats. I would do squats with a band around your knees, and I would even do squats to a box with lighter weight because that can help alleviate that mobility. Izako. I would train explosiveness for a rugby player twice a week and use something like weightlifting. We just covered that study where they talked about improving the squat jump and counter movement jumps, and they also discussed what that means from weightlifting and sprinting, and that's going to lead to rate coding. The rate coding, I believe, is the key factor behind that force production. And there's actually an entire study where they neural matched motor units during shortening and lengthening of muscles, and that's the big thing with weightlifting exercises. There's rapid lengthening, rapid shortening, and that leads to better rate coding. And rate coding is going to help you produce more force. How do you train chaotic responses in football, and are things like patience and vision trainable, or do they come with experience? So James, I hope you were paying attention I hope you were in here when I talked about vision, because training vision is possible. And that might be a peak strength video, how to improve vision. Jason, we got to put that out there. How to improve vision in the weight room. And so patience and vision can be trainable. Also, the faster you are, the more patient you can be, because things happen slower for you relative to other individuals. So if you are faster, you can be more patient. Now, training chaos. So in our book, Garage Strength Program Design, I have the book over there, but I have something sitting on top of it that I'm worried it's going to fall off and knock something over. So I'm not going to bring it over. In our book, Garage Strength Program Design, we actually talk about chaos coordination, and we do train chaos coordination through reflexive movements and through plyometric series. So it is possible to do that. Uncle Fester, what's up, Uncle Fester? How you doing? One of the ways that you can train or that you can improve if you want to improve your overall shin splints, okay? So shin splints are one of those issues of, a lot of people, I'm looking at the literature here, diagnosis and management of medial tibial stress syndrome, how to diagnose it, how to manage it, common running injuries evaluation and management. And it's a really, really tough thing, because some people, they could do tibialis, use a tib bar and do tib curls. A lot of people, you could do sled pushes barefoot. I think oftentimes even just standing against a wall and raising your toes up for 3 sets of 30 can help quite a bit. I like the PVC pipe walks as well for improving shin splints, but you got to sort of get shin splints before they happen. Because then when they start to happen, it's just relentless, and it's hard to get them to go away. And then to alleviate them, I would recommend icing icing the actual bone around the bone with like a solo cup. That can help improve that quite a bit. And I think that's one of the ways that you can improve those shin splints. Now at 39, it takes me several days to recover from a hard workout. So what I would recommend inside of our app at that point is that if a set is a challenge, you just communicate. So I'll bring this up here, and I'll start. Let's say I'm pretending to start my workout, okay, and I'm doing like a single arm lat pull down here, okay. So if you see that bar, that green bar, so what I would say is it says how hard was that. If I'm older and I'm struggling to recover, I would put it all the way over to the side. Okay, see how I move that over? And that's where it's going to be harder. If it's easier, I can move it here. Okay, so when you do that, you're telling the app, and you're saying like, okay, that was an actual challenge. That was easy, or this it was really hard. It was really hard. And what's ironic is that I'm doing a single arm lat pull down today in my upper body workout, and we just discussed that earlier. But when you teach the app that makes it a little bit easier, and just say it's hard. And when you say it's harder, that won't use as much weight. And if we look at minimal training volume to increase strength, it's going to be about 3 to 6 sets per exercise in a week. So you can still get stronger. Hey man, Kevin's in here. What's up, Kevin? Evidence-based high loading tendon exercises for 12 weeks. Leads to increased tendon stiffness and CSA in Achilles tendinopathy. High loading tendon exercise so what was the high loading tendon exercise for 12 weeks? What would that be? Explain what that would be, Kevin. I'm so happy you're in here. Good to see you in here. But explain what that actual exercise is so it's easier to understand. I'm going to come back up here. That was my answer about now I'm a freshman and about to run D1 track, trying to figure out a solid sprint lift schedule. I think you should be sprinting hard twice a week. And I think you should be doing strength training 3 to 4 days a week, squat the day after a hard sprint session, and then have another day off after that squat session. Training proprioception, that's going to come down to the quiet eye stuff and dynamic trunk control. We've got to be able to limit the amount of quake or wobble that we have inside of our gut. Wobble is a scientific term, actually, and there is research on wobble relation to how somebody runs, and they've even studied wobble in regards to holding a cell phone and how it can throw off technique, but actually how it's also helped some people become more athletic because they're able to balance walking and looking at their phone without falling over. It's some interesting research. Wrist curls for wrist strength, what you think? Dwayne, I'm all in on it. Wrist curls for wrist strength, for sure. Would in-season wrestling program peak for the state tournament? Yes. In-season wrestling would peak for the state tournament, 100%. Top 3 exercises for basketball players and top 3 conditioning. Top 3 exercises, basketball. So we have a sick basketball and conditioning. And I think that I'm getting super into the conditioning aspect. And I still am convinced that we condition too much. I think that not us here at Garage Strength, but I think coaches in general condition too much because it's hard. I would go twice a week, one long, slow distance on a bike, on the assault bike, on the rower, and then I think once a week you could do hill sprints. Top 3 strength exercises, single leg squats. I would actually try and do some type of like sled pull, like with the upper body, or like dumbbell bench or something like that, or a pull up, and then some type of trunk exercise. Do you have a program specific to sand volleyball? So as far as sand volleyball and the amount of sprinting and jumping technique, I would actually probably get a racket program inside of Peak Strength. So that would be like badminton. That's what I would do. Do you think a football player can dominate on a soccer field in terms of speed and endurance? It depends on the football player's position. I think if you get a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end, I do believe they could dominate out on the soccer field. If you're injured on your lower body, should you work out your upper body, or will that slow down your recovery? Great question from Uncle Fester. I think you can train your upper body, and that'd be fine. I also think using time off is okay, Okay, that's okay. But I also believe doing things like BFR can also have a positive impact. What's the difference between front versus back squat? 80 to 100%. Front squat should be 80% of the back squat usually. Opinions on doing chest on leg day. Ooh, I don't like that one. How do I increase my 40-yard dash? Get better technique, get more explosive out of the blocks, have a better 7 to 10 strides, the first 7 to 10 steps, and those are going to be the best ways to do that. When should you superset? Almost always. I love supersetting. Beetroot juice is amazing. I always drink at halftime break. It replenishes your nitrate balance. Make sure it's actually from beets. Oftentimes there's some decent research that they are not using beets, and the nitric oxide level is much lower than they're actually claiming. Top 3 exercises for speed. Outside of like sprinting based, or are we going to be talking about just everything? Because you could say, sprint, sled pull, squat. You could say hill sprints. You could say single leg squat. I think single leg squat's great for max velocity. DJ Lawrence, what are your thoughts on ISO extremes? So I played around with extreme ISOs for about 4 to 5 years. Back in 2008 to 2013, we would do 5-minute isometric holds with 185 pounds on our back and split lunge positions, dip positions, push-up positions. And when we took them out, we did not see any change in negative or positive. So we stopped doing the extreme isometrics. Auto regulation's fantastic. I don't know about EMS suits. How do I work out? Oh, man. Kevin, I don't know if you did email that. I got to see. Also, Keist, I will say this one was tough for us with the live stream because, I'm leaving to go to. I'm going to Cuba tomorrow morning at like 5 in the morning, and we were going to do it tomorrow. But then, once we looked at the schedule and everything, so yes, we could have done a better job. But Keist, I want to say I saw your comment about pistol squat versus skater squats on peak strength. I was looking at the peak strength comments this morning when I woke up. How much did I bench at 18? Dude, when I was 18 years old, I benched 405. I was pretty good. Kevin, I'm going to go back and look at that title. I'm going to type that in right now so I don't lose that. And then we'll talk about it. Evidence-based high loading tendon exercise for 12 weeks. Is this a study where they did that crazy stretching on the ankle? They put them in like a specific ankle thing that like held that. I think I saw this. I'm pretty sure I've seen this study where they held them and it increases the length of the Achilles. Let me know if that's what it is, Kevin. But yeah, going back to Keith's comment. So Keith is asking one about scheduling. It can get tough to schedule. And we're going to try and do a better job, but I am traveling quite a bit once, June 24th comes around. I'm coming back from Cuba on Saturday. But Keith had a question about skater squats versus pistol squats. And I like both of them. I think they're fantastic. I would argue, though, that the skater squat's a little bit more glute. You have to lean forward quite a bit more, and you got to make sure that you're not using that back leg at all. And I like using explosive skater squats for jumps and explosive movements into a hip lock position for hip extension at the top of the skater squat. So I do believe, I will say this, I think that the skater squat has a little bit better carryover to sports because it's so challenging, but they're both fantastic. So that would be my answer. What about increasing a stand throw? My stand is 46, but I want to increase your bench, increase your snatch. Stand to full. Stand to full. What can you add? That's a great question. I have until August 7th to get in shape. What can I do to improve my speed and endurance? Speed and endurance over the next 3 months. I would do sprints once a week. I would do sled towing with about a 25-pound plate once a week. And then I would do 30 minutes on the assault bike to 60 minutes on the assault bike. And then I would lift my legs twice a week and then do some type of arm stuff the other day. I'm 33 years old. I lost 18 kilos in 3 months without being hungry and getting from 36. Congratulations. That's crazy passion. That's awesome. You should be proud of that. And that's great. And everybody can be inspired by that. Okay. So Kevin just commented. Ooh, we got a conditioning for cardios. Kevin just commented. I wanted to share the study. It was a max isometric plantar flexion. Okay, so that was, I think, the one that I've seen. What's an alternative to sled pull, pushes, all that? I would do PVC pipe walks. I would do switch lunges on a PVC. I would do walks on the toes. Yeah, you could do all those things. Let's go back to what explosive exercises can be used for someone with a 5-year-old spinal cord injury. So you've had a spinal cord injury. I don't know if I can answer that without, I'd have to be in that scenario. This is for Barbie. I've got to, do you still have bruising on the spinal cord? Can you do squat and jumps? Can you do jump lunges? How bad is the pain? Conditioning for weightlifters, to me, the best way to condition weightlifters is to do sets of 5 and sets of 4. And we do quite a bit of sets of 4 and 5 when we're in the exposure phase. And we also, I would say, get in the sauna. There was a question in here. Thank you, Arturo. Keist, also, if you guys miss the lives, don't forget, if you miss the lives, you can comment, and I'll try to, and most of the time I do check our comments, but also you can comment on the community platform, and these lives stay public so that we can go back and we can see that as well. Schwingen, we got a dude who does schwingen in here. So he does schwingen, which is, you guys should look up schwingen. It's like wrestling in sawdust with like a diaper, and it's crazy. They're just tossing dudes. What are the top 3 exercises for schwingen? So we've got in the docket for August, we've got video on hurling. We got a video on Gaelic football. We're gonna add in here schwingen. Keist, I thought EHAB extensions is more, there's going to be more trunk work in the EHAB extensions as far as I can tell based off of when we do EHAB work. That's for Keist. News and analysis with Arturo. Cornerback could be a fullback. Yeah, in soccer, you're right. You're absolutely right. So the top 3 exercises for swinging, though, I would say let's go front squats, okay? And then let's go close grip power snatch. And then let's do something crazy. Let's do front-loaded single leg zercher. And you got to hold like a log in this front part here, and you're doing a single leg zercher in the front position. That's going to be crazy, and that's going to help you quite a bit. You can be more explosive. Malachi is 12, and he's done some heavy plyo stuff or plyometric stuff. Can he start lifting? For sure. What is your current diet? You were looking lean. So for me, my current diet is I try to get 40 to 50 grams of fiber every single day. I try to have 300 to 400 carbs every single day minimum. Usually I'm sitting closer to 400 plus. I eat about 3 mangoes a day, and I'll have about 4 bananas a day. And then I try to have 200 grams of protein, and then whatever, I just let the fat fill itself in. So around like 2,500 to 3,000 calories. And I have been running quite a bit more. Kevin is asking for you got to email me the breathing notes. And then, Kevin, Trevor is supposed to be sending out the PowerPoint notes. However, bear with us because Trevor is off today and tomorrow. So if he doesn't send them out, I'm gonna try and comment in our chat, our work chat, to get him to send them out. But he is off for 2 days. And Jake is also out for all of this week. He's got vacation, and Trevor's got 2 days of vacation too. So, hey, here at Garage Strength, we try and support our employees. We try and pay them as well as we possibly can. And part of that goes to you guys picking up Peak Strength. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store. And you can even pick up sweet books like this, Weightlifting and Sports Performance. All of this stuff helps us support our employees so we can provide this sweet free content for you guys and give our employees some good vacations when they're working like crazy. Man, that coaching summit was great. Kevin, I would love to hear your positive and negative criticisms of the coaching summit. Please email us, and if you would do a review, we would love that as well. We're trying to figure out a way to make that as good as possible. I love the session where we did more of the progression work, and I think that we've got to do more of that stuff. So let us know what you thought. How to get stronger as a person. Who's always traveling. Food is a main issue. So this is for Vasak. Dude, I travel probably more than anybody I know. And I take bands with me. I do a lot of body weight stuff. I try to eat whenever possible lean meats. I'll usually take some protein powder just in case. But Vasek, I can relate to you. So it's like taking bands and realizing that doing things like calisthenics can pay off big time when you get home. If you can work out 6 days a week, should you do leg day, upper day, athlete, impulse, hypertrophy? And that would be, what would be day 6? Day 6 could be buys and tries. Day 6 could be technique work for cleans or for snatches. Day 6 could be mobility. It could be easy endurance work, LSD work, some core work, something like that. That's what I would do on a day 6. Should I start? Yep. Colton Ferguson. Favorite exercises to strengthen the core and the trunk. Right now, I did this wild one. I even did it this morning where I did a neutral grip pull-up, and I had weights in my feet, and I did 1, 2, 3 pull up and hold. And while I did that, I raised the plates in my feet 3 times. Then I did a slow eccentric, 1, 2, 3 pull-ups. I did the knee raises again, and that lit up my abs, and I've done that a couple times the last 2 to 3 weeks, and it's been phenomenal. Good at-home workouts for football players. Hill sprints, bounds up the hills, single leg bounds up the hills, backward hill sprints, jump lunges, box jumps. All of those are great. Are carbs necessary for muscle growth? Protein is essential for sure. Listen, the nutrition diet realm is wild to me. I think it's wild that we still constantly have these keto animal zealots. Like, look, you want to eat animals, eat animals. You want to be vegetarian or vegan, be vegetarian or vegan. We've seen in research that as long as you're getting enough protein as a vegan or enough protein as a vegetarian, and you've got enough leucine from potatoes or from dairy if you're a vegetarian, you can still get stronger. Okay, you can also get stronger on obviously eating animals. I eat animals. The big crazy part for me is like people are still so hard into keto. It's like, dude, I've gone low carb for fun to test it multiple different times, and every time you go low carb or keto, I just feel flat. I don't have the energy. I don't have like the pump. I can't get a pump. I feel flaccid. That's literally the best way to describe it. I feel like I have nothing in me. And when I eat carbs, personally, I want to run through a wall, and then that makes my training better. So if my training's better, and if I'm eating enough protein, I'm going to have better adaptations. So that's my big stance there. But I know it also works. If you're keto, it probably works for you too. But I've also had keto zealots that'll scream at me for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I got off of it. I couldn't do it anymore. So whatever's sustainable, right? When would you recommend a male gymnast doing all 6 events to program the Olympic lifts relative to their event work? Holy crap. Oh, doing all 6 events, I would say twice a week, 50 to 60% of their max, and try and do it like a day after a really hard day, so it's lighter and you're almost using it more for a mobility day. Kai Van Curler, how should I peak for playoff football when I only train 2 to 3 times a week during the regular season with low volume? That's fine. You can have 1 or 2 days a week where you still lift pretty freaking hard, and you can still peak well by saying, like, look at your strength of schedule, analyze when the strength of schedule will be harder or easier, and then that's going to help you figure out that peak. Passion wrestling, Monday chest and back, Tuesday legs and core, Wednesday shoulders, arms, Thursday off, repeat cycle. That's okay. I would rather follow the peak strength system of Lulu. Leg day on day 1, upper body day on day 2, athlete day on day 3, impulse day on day 4, hypertrophy day on day 5. Do you have any advice on how to become a personal trainer and nutritionist? I think read as much as you can, be open-minded, and recognize that there's a lot of information out there to improve upon and to get better. And then finally, I'm going to take Casey Hanna. What is the main muscle grouping I should be working on as an offensive lineman? Hip mobility, hip strength, glute strengthening your quads, and being able to apply a large amount of force in a lower position. Oh, I miss Mitch McGinnis. Any info about creating a day of schedule? I'm having trouble planning out a routine for my swimmer. I assume you mean a strength day. A strength day. How should I play? You focus on, and this is for swimming. Focus on. Paul Leclerc, thank you. Focus on doing a movement specific to your exercise. So like coming off the blocks would be like a power snatch or a power clean. Okay, and if you look at like Caleb Dressel, he can power snatch like 105 kilos. Then the next aspect is build the program around pulls. So rope climbs, dead hang pull-ups, dumbbell external rotations, build off of that. and then more core work, so more dynamic trunk control work like a walrus. Do a walrus exercise so you can hold better posture in the water. Yeah, that's okay, Kevin. We'll send them over. I look forward to your review, and I look forward to criticizing us and telling us what we can do better as well. I'm going to check out that research paper, evidence-based high loading. I'm going to put that into our research document. And don't forget, guys, who won the Swole shirt, 12-week loading on the Achilles. I'm going to check this out while I'm gone, and I appreciate you guys showing up to this week's live. Hey, good program to max out. Good program to max out. Maybe that's what we can cover next week in the public live, how to max out effectively. If you guys like that, comment down below. Keist, I recommend Nike or Adidas. Those are great shoes that you can use, and I think that can be they're perfectly fine. I like the Nikes with a lower heel. Until next time, guys, don't forget to head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength for 7 free days of training. At some point, you guys got to start your journey to become a freak athlete. Okay. Until next time, peace.